Shalom Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakathan to all the brothers, Yahweh Shemaiah Latham Ba'Hashem Yahushai to all the sisters, priest and officer 1000 Zabadja of the I.S.U.P.K, under Commandant General YAHANNA, started out 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. This is the I.S.U.P.K Canada Sabbath service. La Yasha'Allah, La Yasha'Allah, which means to Israel. Men of Israel, Akwaki and watching. I imagine, which means to stand. Sarapanya Hakodam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to start with the Lord's prayers. The Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabashamayam, Kudash, Ayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakwa, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Ayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Ayah, Bashamayam, Lathalanawa, Lakam, Ka, Yuwam, Wasalaknawa, Kabwaknawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabwakinawa, Wala'ah, Tabayanawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Hawashinawa, Mayan, Ra, Kiya, Waka, Amalakwa, Wahala, Wahathapara, La'aiwa Lamyam, Aman. What we just read in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Slovakia, we're having a technical difficulty. Bear with us a moment. We're back. Hallowed be thy name, Yahweh. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever so be it. Akah, the prayer for power. Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Babakashah, Yafanawa, Akah, Ba'apa'ah, Ka-Makala, Ka-Madawa, Akah, Batahar, Ha-Matazarayan, Akah, Ha-Laha-Kwayam, Ha-Matayam, Akah, Awakawa, Ha-Mata'ala, Lagarsha, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Duwara-Aman. Lord, in the name of Yahushua, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahushua, thank you, so be it. Psalms 121 in Hebrew. Asha'ah, Ayanya, Ahahariam, Ma'ayan, Yala'ah, Isaiah, Ma'an, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Wa'arataza, Al-Yathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Al-Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'ah, Yanawam, Wala'ah, Yayashan, Shalomar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yamyanka, Yalmam, Hashamash, La'ah, Yakaka, Wayarab, the Yal of Yah, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashamar, Athnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Tazaaka, Wabawaaka, Ma'aika, Wa'id Iwalam. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth, and even forevermore. The prayer for power structure. Barakatha Yahweh. Wa Yahweh Shai. Wa Mayak Ka'ala. Wa Alahayim. Matazav Ya'ah. Alawap Yahanna. Ha Alawapyam. Ha Saranyam. Ha Kwatazanyam. Ha Kayal Yayam. Ha Akwathyam. Yahweh. Ma'asham. Yahweh Shai. The water Aman. In English, what we just read. Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, Commander General YAHANNA, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Men of Israel, Al-Qatim Sar, which means turn. You may be seated. All right, let's get it. Last Sabbath service, we were in Genesis, the 30th chapter. We were reading about the lineage of the children of Israel. All right, so that's where we're going to continue. We're going to be in Genesis chapter 30, Genesis the 30th chapter, and we're going to start from verse 22. So this is Genesis the 30th chapter, verse 22. Waya Zamar Alahayim Ab. Recall Waya Shemai Alahayim Watha Salakia Waya Patha Salakia Waya Pasatha Ah Ukama, verse 23. What Watha Har Watha Lad Ban Watha Amar Asa Alahayim Ah Kara Pa Thiyah. Verse 24. Watha Qura'ah Ah Shemawa Yawasa Yahusap. La'aman. Zasap. Yahweh. Laya. Ban. Akkad. Verse 25. Wayahaya. Ma'ashad. Yalada. Wakar. At. Yawasa. Waya Amar. Yaikwa. Laban. Shalat Naya. Wa'a Lama. Makwa Salakia. Makwa Wamya. Wala Ara Tizayat. Verse 26. Sana. Nashaya. Wa'af. Yaladaya. Ashar. Ibad Taya. So Asam Fahan. Wa'a Lama. Maya. Salaki Asa. Yada Ai. Asa. Salaki Salaki Asa. Iba the Thaya. Ashad. Ibad the Yam. Verse 27. Uya Amar. Allah Yawa. Laban. Na'a. Mataza'a. Thaya. Khai. Fa'a Yanyam. Naka Shafaya. Uyab Rama Naya. Yahweh. Pagal Lam. 28. Uya Amar. Naka Ba. Shema Ram. Ilaya. Wa'a Na. Shalom, Officer Shaiwan.
Shalom, Adawan, Yahbashim, Shabbat.
Okay, why is it doing that? I gotta change that. Okay, Shalom. How you doing? You 12?
Con, so I'm 12.
No sweat. Let's get it. Officer Shaiwan, I imagine?
Con.
Officer Shaiwan, state your register.
Officer Shariwan, Ban Yamian, Ban Yasharala.
Officer Shaiwan, Ban Yamyan, Ban Yasharala.
Yahbashim, Shabbat.
Yahbashim Yashar Brakatha. Officer Shaiwan, you may be seated.
Con.
God, we were just so we're in Genesis, the 30th chapter. We just read Genesis chapter 30, 22 to 28. But with the shot, if you put in the English, Genesis 30 and 22.
Con, sir. This is Genesis chapter 30 and verse 22. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb.
Right. So this is again, we were going through the lineage of Israel, right? And how we got these 12 tribes. And there was a time when Rachel, she wasn't having children. She went to the Lord and she cried out to the Lord. She prayed to the Lord. She asked for him to open up her womb, and he remembered and opened up her womb. Keep reading.
Verse 23. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach.
Right. She knew that the Lord was the reason she had a child. Right. This is something most brothers and sisters don't understand. It doesn't matter what you do, the Lord is giving you that child, right? A lot of brothers and sisters think that they had a child on their own, right? Listen, the sun doesn't rise without the Lord approving, right? A bird doesn't fall out the sky without the Lord say so. Light doesn't come into the earth without the Lord saying it to be so. Okay? And she said God took away her reproach. Keep reading.
Verse 24. And she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son.
Right. So she called this baby's name Joseph, right? She turned around and said, the Lord is giving her more sons, right? He's taking away her way of approach. Now, this is something that most, if you have a mom, especially males, the sons understand this. A woman looks at, so I'm trying to say this the best way, right? Most sisters look at sisters like they haven't really done anything unless they have children, especially sisters with children, right? So when she's saying the Lord has taken away her reproach, she's now looked at as a mother. She can have children. She's having more children, right? Keep reading.
That Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto mine own place and to my country.
Right. So now Jacob, his family's growing, right? His family's growing, and he knows the prophecy concerning his lineage, right? It's time for Jacob to leave out of Laban's house. You have to remember, Jacob only went to get Rachel, right? He ended up keep having Leah. Jacob, Salakia. Jacob tricked him into keeping Leah, right? And in that process of him spending time there, he had Leah and he had the handmaids, right? And they were giving him children. So he knows that it's time for him to leave, and he's going to Laban and saying, my servitude to you is over now. I'm trying to go. Let me get my wife and children so I can leave. Keep reading.
Verse 26. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and
Right.
let me go.
This is Jacob. He served for his wife. Salakia. He served to get Rachel. He served 14 years. Right. The first 7 years he thought he was getting Rachel, but then he slept with Leah on the wedding night, so he had to keep Leah. Right. He served another 7 years, and he finally got Rachel. His time of servitude was over. Right. And as you read, you're gonna find out that just like the whole world knows, right? When you have God's chosen in your servitude, your substance grows. Keep reading.
For thou knowest my service, which I have done thee. And
Right.
Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry.
And Salakia, this is now Laban says, Jacob, you want to leave? Ah, damn, I cannot let you leave. Right? He's not forcing him to stay, but he's asking him, can he stay a little longer? Right? Because Jacob serving Laban has been good to Laban. right? And no one ever wants to give up a good thing. That's why we don't leave this school, right? That's why we don't drop our swords. We took an oath in this school, and we're not trying to give up on a good thing, right? We absolutely refuse to. So we stay in the school and we labor. Keep reading.
For I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake.
Right. And Laban is telling Jacob, like, through the experience of you being here, I've come to realize that the Lord has blessed me. Right. And again, this is why Columbus hopped on a ship. Now, it's not saying Laban had Jacob in servitude like a slavery, right? But again, when you have the Lord's chosen in your possession, when you have them in servitude to you, your substance is going to go up. It's going to increase, right? This is the same reason Columbus came to America, to the Americas, to find the children of Israel, right? And when side note, when you read Columbus's diary, he talks about how the children of Israel were so kind to him, right? That they didn't kill each other. They weren't at war with each other. They were living in peace, right? And he said, listen, they have to be in service to us. They're going to make good slaves, right? I paraphrase that last part, but he's basically saying that the children of Israel are supposed to be my slaves. Keep reading.
And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it.
Now this is how you know that Laban was his bag was going up because of Jacob, right? His bag was going up. Jacob, the Israelites were herdsmen, right? They were the husband to the earth, right? Because of Jacob, Laban, his cattle were increasing, right? Your cattle increases, your money increases, your food increases. So it's to a point where he's telling Jacob that, listen, I need you to stay. Tell me what it is that you cost, or tell me what your wages is, how much I have to pay you, and I'll do it for you. Right? If you're good at your trade, if you're good at the skill that you are, you will get someone who needs your services down to pay whatever it costs, especially if they need your services. Laban in this moment realized that he needs Jacob's services. Right? So we're going to read in the Hebrew. So, okay, Officer Shaw, if there's anything you want to add at any time, you could always chime in.
Okay.
So, okay. So we're going to read now Genesis 30 and 29 in the Hebrew until we get to 35. Excuse me. So, okay, 1 minute. Genesis 30, 29. Waya Amar, Allah Yawab, Athar, Zada Ah, Ashar, Ibad, Ibad, Sayam, Wa'atha, Wa'af, Ashar, Hazar, Mukwa, Nam, Salakia, Mukwa, Nama, Athazar, Athaya, verse 30, Maya, Ma'ai, Ashar, Za, Lam, La, Lapa, Naya, Ya, Para, Tiza, Para, Ya, Ram, Yahweh, Thumb, Lara, Ga, Laya, Ifa, Mataya, I.S.H.A.K, Gam, Ana, Maya, Laba, Fa, Salakia, Laba, Yethaya, 31. Waya, Amar, Mahad, Athan, Lam, Waya, Amar, Yaquab, La'ah, Safan, Laya, Ma'ah, Wama, Sa'ai, Shah, Laya, Ada, Bar, Azar, Shah, Waba, Ara, Aha, Salakia, Ara, Ha, Taza'ah, Nam, Ashar, Man, 32. Bar, Hawa, Taza'ah, Nam, Azar, Salakia, Aya, Wam, Asar, Masham, Ma, Shah, Naquat, Uta, Lawa, Umar, Shah, Kawam, Bama, Shaba, Yam, Wasa, Salakia, Wata, Wa'a, Wana, Quad, Ba'ai, Zayam, Waha, Ya, Shema, Ya, verse 33. Wa'ai, Natha, Baya, Tiza, da, Kwa, Taya, Baya, Wam, Mukad, Maya, Taba, Wa'a, Shema, Raya, Lapan, Yam, Ma, Ashar, Ayan, Hawa, Naquad, Wata, La Waya, Ba'ai, Zayam, Waka, Wam, Bama, Sharyam, Gana, Wa, Hawa, Athaya, 34. Waya, Amar, Laban, Han, La, Ya, Mada, Faram, 35. Waya, Sarah, Salakia, Wayasar, Baya, Wam, Taha, Wa'a, Salakia, 5. Ta, Yashyam, Ai, Koda, Yam, Waha, ta la'a yam wa'a ma ha'ai za yam na kwada wa ha ta la'a ma sha laban wa ma kawam bama sha yam waza thai ayat banyawa la gives one moment. Mada Baram 35 Waza Sa Ya Wam Taha Wa'a At Tasa Yam Salakia. Alright. So there we're going to read Salakia. Where we left off, we're going to read from Genesis 30:29 to 35.
Come. Verse 29. And he said unto him, Then knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me.
Right. So Jacob, he's telling Laban, like, you know how I've served you and how I've done the things that you've asked for. Keep reading.
For it was little which thou hadst before I came.
Right. And he's telling him, and he's telling him, before I got here, you didn't have much. Right? But I got here and I've increased your substance. Keep reading.
And it is now increased unto a multitude.
He's saying that number has gotten bigger. Now you have a lot more than you've had before. Keep reading.
And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for mine own house also?
So he, in this moment, he's telling Jacob, since I've come here, the Lord has blessed you. But now it's time that I have to take care of my own. Right? And this is like any man who leaves his house. Right? You leave your house and you go to start your own. Right? You go to start your own family, not your father's family. And he said, Jacob at this point, Salakia, Laban at this point is his father-in-law. Right? And he said, I have to leave away from you so I can take care of my own family. Because at the end of the day, Jacob knows that there's prophecy concerning his bloodline. He knows that his father and his grandfather were told that their seed would be like the sands of the sea. Right? Abraham was told if he can number the stars in the sky, so will be the number of Israel. So I'm paraphrasing it, but he was basically told, like, you can't number the stars in the sky. No one will be able to number how many Israelites there are. Keep reading.
And he said, What shall I give thee? And Jacob said, Thou shalt not give me anything, if thou wilt do this thing for me. I will again feed and keep thy flock.
Right. So he's basically Laban's asking, "What shall I give you?" Jacob say, "Thou shall not give me anything." Right? He's basically saying, if you do this, I will feed your flocks some more for a time. Oh snap! We got Officer Baraki Allah in the house. Shalom, Aki. How about you, Shabbat? Yeah. So if you want to follow along, Baraki Allah, we're in Genesis, the 30th chapter. So Aki, Laban is trying to get Jacob to stay. Jacob's trying to leave. Laban's trying his hardest to get him to stay. Jacob's basically trying to tell him, if you let me go with my family, right, with your daughters that I married, cut.
Verse.
We're in Slovakia 31. We're gonna start at 32, but right now we're wrapping up 31. Right? So that's what Laban, he's trying to get Jacob to stay, and Jacob's trying to leave. He's trying to leave to the point where he's saying, I'll still take care of your flock a little bit for some time so I can leave. Officer Shaw, you want?
Salaki, other one. What's that?
You can keep reading.
Con, sir. Verse 32. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be hired.
Read that last part one more time.
And the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be hired.
Right. So he's basically in this point he's saying, listen, I'm going to take care of your flock some more, right? And I'm going to pass through all the livestock, right? And all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, of such shall be my hire. It shall be his wages, right? That's basically what he's telling Laban. That's going to be his wages, right? Keep reading.
Verse 33. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face.
Right. So he's telling him that's what his wages is going to be, and his righteousness, his willingness to follow the Lord is going to speak for him. Keep reading.
Every one that is not speckled and spotted amongst the goats, and brown amongst the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me.
Keep reading.
And Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to thy word.
Right. So at this moment, they're making a deal, right? They're going to basically, as you read along, you're going to find out that they're going to divide the cattle. Right? Keep reading.
And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown amongst the sheep, and gave them unto the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob.
You can stop right there, right? So Jacob, Salakia. Slovakia, one moment. Right. So as these sheep are being divided, as these sheep are being divided by Laban, he's splitting them. He's removing the sheep. They're dividing them, and he's giving them to his sons to take care of. Right. And in this sense, right, at this time, Jacob absolutely he doesn't really have any love for Laban because Laban tricked him, right? Laban gave him his word and then went against it. And as you read and find out, Laban has been doing this to Jacob, where he's giving him his word and then he's going against it. He's saying one thing and then he's doing something else, right? Laban wasn't being a brother to Jacob. In this school, you have to be a brother, right? You gotta treat brothers how you want to be treated. So yeah. So give me one moment. I'm just looking for a precept real quick. Officer Shaw, can you get me Matthew 25 and 40, brother Shaw?
Okay. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 25 and verse 40.
Salakia, leave that one. Actually, get me Luke 6 and 31, brother Shaw.
Salaki, you want me to grab Luke 6:31?
Come on, Luke 6 and 31, brother Shaw.
Yeah. It's the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 31. And as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise.
Right? So you want to do unto men likewise as you want done to you, which means you're not going to lie to your brother. You're not going to trick him. That's something that Laban is doing to Jacob, and is not brother. Right? We're going to continue reading. Slovakia. Brother Kashar. Officer Baraki Allah, do you have the Hebrew in front of you?
Kind of.
Con. One moment. Officer Baraki Allah, I imagine. Officer Baraki Allah, state your registry.
Officer 50 Baraki Allah. Ban Ban Yam Yan Ban Yasharala.
Officer 50 Baraki Allah, Ban Banyanyan, Ban Yasha Allah. Salute.
Yalba Hashem Yashai Brakatham.
Yahweh Shem
Yabashim
Yahjamatah, you may be seated. Officer Baraki Allah, can you read Genesis 30, 36? 36 to 42, Brother Kasha, in the Hebrew.
Okay, 1 second.
Done. Officer Shaiwan, can you take over for a quick second? I'll be right back.
Come, sir. You can go ahead with the Hebrew.
I'm just getting in front of me.
Come on. You got the chapter and verse?
Genesis 30, 36 to 42, right?
36 to 42. Come.
Khan, Wakan. Wayasham, the rock. Shalashata, Yum Yum, Ayanawa, Wabayan, Yaai Kwaba, Yaikwab,
Yaquab. Come.
Waya Wayaikwab, Ra'ai, Atha, Taza'an, Laban, Hanwatarat, verse 37. Wayakwa, it's like a Wayakwak, Lawa, Yaikwab, Makwal, Laban, Lak, Laka, Wala, Walawai, Wa'iramawan, Wayapatazal, Ba'an, Patazalawat, Patazalawat, Patazalawata, Laban Wata, Makashapa, Halaban, Ashar, Isle, Hamakwalawat, Hamakwalawat, 38. Wayatazaga, Wayatazag, Salakia, Atha, Hamakwalawat, Ashar, Patazal, Baraha, Tayam, Bashakatawat, Tawat, Pamyam, Ashar, Tabaan, Atazaan, Lashatawat, Lanakak, Hatazaan, Wakamana, Babaan, Lashawat, verse 39. Wakamawa, Hatazaan, Al, Hamakwalawat, Wataladan, Hatazaan, Ayakwadayam, Nakwadayam, Watalaayam, verse 40. Wahaka Yam, Haparayad, Yaikwaba, Salaki, Yaikwab, Wayathan,
Panya, Hatazaan, Al, Iquad, Wakal, Kawam, Batazaan, Laban, Wayashat, Lawa, Aidurayam, Labadawa, Walaa, Shatam, Ail, Tazaan, Laban. Verse 41. Wahaya, Bakal, Yakam, Hatazaan, Hamakwa Sharawat, Washam, Yaquab, Atha, Amakwalawat, La Ayanya, Atazaan, Bara'atayam, Layakamana, Bamakwalawat. Verse 42. Wabahai Tayapa, Hatazaan, La'a, Yashayam, Wahaya, Ha'aitapayam, Lalaban, Wahakwasharayam, Layaquab, Layaiquab.
All right, the water for that. Officer Shuddy 1, we just read from Genesis 30, 36 to 42. Baba Kashaf, could you read it in English?
Come. Verse 36. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks.
Right. So Laban set 3 days journey between him and Jacob, right? They split the flock up. He gave some to his sons and some to Laban, and they split it up. And Jacob's about to continue taking care of Laban's flock for a little bit, right? Again, this is the dividing to figure out how many of the flock is Jacob gonna have and how many of the flock is Laban gonna have. Keep reading.
And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and of the hassel and chestnut tree, and piled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods.
Right. So Jacob, he got a bunch of foliage together, right? And this is what he's going to use to feed the flock. Keep reading.
And he set the rods which he had piled before the flocks in the gutters and the watering troughs when the flock came to drink.
Right. So the rods and the foliage that he used, he set it in the gutters. Basically, the gutters would be something that contains the food for the cattle. Keep reading.
That they should conceive when they came to drink.
Keep reading.
And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted.
Right. So what Jacob was doing is basically he's doing something that's gonna basically separate the cattle, right? Again, the cattle that if we go back to it, Slovakia, right? So what's happening is the cattle is being separated. There's cattle that's spotted or brown or has stripes or streaks, right? It's being separated from the cattle with the solid colors. Keep reading.
And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring straight, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle.
Right. So basically, what's happening now is these flocks are beginning to conceive. They're being breeded, right? So he's separating them. He's trying to make sure that whatever solid is stays with itself, and whatever has streaks or stripes, it breeds within itself, right? So they can separate. Keep reading.
And it came to pass, whenever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they
Right,
might conceive among the rods.
right. So Jacob wants to keep the stronger cattle for himself, right? And this is what we're finding out, right? What Jacob is doing, he's separating the stronger cattle and the weaker cattle. He's eventually going to keep the stronger cattle for himself and give the weaker cattle to Laban, right? He served over 14 years with Laban when it comes to getting his wife. Now he wants what he's worked for so he can go about and raise his family. Keep reading.
But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's.
Come on. Hold up right there. Officer Shariwan, can you get me the definition of feeble? Right? I'm going to read that one more time. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. Right? So the feeble cattle, he was keeping separate. Right? He wanted the feebler ones to go to Laban. Right? And the stronger ones for himself.
Salaki, other one. You want the definition of feeble?
Come on.
Khan, sir. Feeble, to be faint, to grow weak, to faint, faint away.
Right. So Jacob was giving Laban the weak cattle. He was keeping the stronger ones. Right. Jacob was prophesied that his substance would increase, right? The children of Israel would eventually have rulership over the earth, and he was going to be, because he followed God, the Lord was going to take care of him, right? He was going to have an abundance of children and be the Salakia, not to say father of nations, but there's 12 nations about to come out of him. Right? Keep Slovakia. We're going to read. We're going to read 43 and finish out this chapter, and then go into chapter 31 and read up to verse 6. Baruch Hashem. Barakiala in the Hebrew, can you read 43 to finish out the chapter? And then we'll continue in 31 and we'll read from 1 to 6.
Khan of Khan. Genesis chapter 30, verse 43 in Hebrew. Wayaparatazah. Hayash. Ma'ad. Wa. Tazaan. Wat. Wamalayam. Waka Maryam. Okay, my computer just froze on me.
Khan, no sweat. Are you able to get the Hebrew, or if you're not, it's no problem. I'll read it for you. All right, it seems Baraki Allah is having a little bit of technical difficulties. No sweat, Baraki Allah. I'm going to read out the rest of this Hebrew. We're in Genesis 31, verse 1. Waya Shamai, Vada, Raya, Banya, Laban, La'alma, Lakak, Yaquab, Ma, Ashad, La'a, Bayan, Wama, Amar, Salakia, Wama, Ashad, La'a, Bayan, Na, Ashad, Ma, Hama, Bad, Azah, verse 2. Uya, Ara, Yaquab, Panya, Laban, Hawa, Na, Aya, Ayan, Na, Aima, Matha, Mawal, Shala, Shawam, verse 3. Waya, Amar, Yahweh, Yaquab, Shawam, Aratazar, Abba, Watha, Yam, Wallah, Mawa, Salakia, Wallah, Mawa, La, Da, Tham, Wa'a, Azah, Imam, verse 4. Waya, Shalak, Yaquab, Waya, Hurrah, Lara, Ka, Wala, La'a, Ha, Hasha, Da, Taza'a, 1, Salakia, Taza'a, Nawa, verse 5. Waya, Amar, Lahan, Ra'a, Anna, Maya, Panya, Abba, Ya, Yaman, Maya, Aya, Nawa, Aliyah, Matha, Ma, Shala, Sham, Wa'a, Alahaya, Abaya, Hazah, Aimadya. Salakia. Officer Shah Yuan, we're going to continue. You can read verse 43 in Genesis 30 to Genesis 31, verse 5, Baba Shah.
Khan. Verse 43. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and men servants. and camels and asses.
Right. So because of what Jacob did, he increased. Right. Now, you have to remember, when Jacob got to Laban, Laban didn't have a lot. He damn near had nothing. Jacob worked for him 7 years, right? Laban increased in that 7 years. Laban turned around and gave him the wife that a daughter that he didn't work for. Jacob worked another 7 years, totaling 14 years for the wife that he wanted, Rachel. Laban increased some more. Jacob wanted to leave. Laban didn't want him to leave. Jacob said, I'll take care of your cattle some more, and then I'm leaving, right? As he's leaving and as he takes care of more cattle, and they divide up the cattle, Jacob is now with more cattle than Laban, right? Jacob has the strong cattle while Laban has the weak cattle. Keep reading.
Chapter 31 and verse 1. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was of our fathers hath he gotten all this glory.
Right. So the sons are now angry, right? Because they're saying Jacob took everything, right? Because Laban, he has the weak cattle. The weak cattle, they're weak. They're not increasing. They're not conceiving like they're supposed to. It's weak cattle. No one wants to buy weak things. Keep reading.
And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not towards him as before.
Before Laban loved Jacob, he loved him so much that he tricked him into marrying both his daughters. Right? He knew that Jacob was going to be a powerful man. The people in the land, they've heard the prophecies, they've heard the great things that Abraham and Isaac were doing, and now Jacob is doing. Keep reading.
And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers and of thy kindred, and I will be with thee.
Right. Salakia. Laban, he doesn't have any more favor for Jacob. The Lord is now telling Jacob, listen, you got to get out of here. Go back home to your people, right? Go back home to where your people are from, to that land. Keep reading.
And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock,
Keep reading.
and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father has been with me.
Right. So he's telling his wives, his ribs, your father doesn't like me anymore. He doesn't have the same love as he's had before me. But that's okay because the Lord is going to be with me. Right? And that's what we tell. Listen, you could take that same thing and apply it to brothers and sisters in the school that Salakia. Not towards brothers and sisters in the school, but for brothers and sisters in the school fighting to stay in the school. Everybody in the world is going to turn on you, right? Especially when you start to do good, they start to see how they're doing wrong. They don't want to see that. No one ever wants to see how they're doing wrong. So instead, you have to be a cult member. You have to be a robot. You can't think for yourself. If you're a sister, they're telling you that you're oppressed, that your husband hates you, right? The sisters that tell sisters that they don't know what it's like to have a good husband. They don't know what it's like to be a good wife. So they look at good wives and good husbands as something that's evil. They look at not eating pork, shrimp, and lobster as evil, right? If you don't celebrate Christmas, you're evil. And this is what Jacob was going through. He didn't have that same love from Laban as before, right? So we're going to leave it right there. We're going to leave it there, and we're going to continue next week from Genesis 31, verse 6. Right? So with that said, okay, if there's anything y'all want to add, y'all can add it in quick.
La, sir.
Lord, man.
No sweat. So with that said, we're going to say a couple prayers and then put an end to the Sabbath service. Salakia. Men of Israel, I Majim, which means to stand. Sarapanya Hakodam, turn your face to the east if you're not already set up to be facing the east. Salakia, bear with me a moment. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew, and then we're going to keep a UPK tradition and say it in English for those of you who don't understand the Hebrew. Now, if you're having a hard time understanding the Hebrew, every Friday night at 7 p.m., Officer 500 Shariwan, Priesthood Officer Shariwan, he will break down the Hebrew for you and teach you everything you know how to, everything you need to learn about the Hebrew, right? We're going to say it in the Hebrew first. This is the Lord's Prayer. You can find it in Matthew 6, verses 8 to 13. Abanawa,
Abanaw,
Shabbat Shemayam,
Bashamayam,
Kadash,
Kodash,
Hayah,
Ayah,
Shamkah,
Shamka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Malakwatah,
Malakwathka,
Sabbath,
Tabaa,
Ratazakah,
Ratazaka,
Hayah,
Ayah,
Aisha,
Aisha,
Barataza,
Barataza,
Kawa,
Kawa,
Hayah,
Ayah,
Bashamayam,
Bashamayam,
Yafanana,
Banlanao,
Lakam,
Lakam,
Kal,
Kal,
Yawam,
Wam,
Wasalakna,
Wasalakwanao,
Kawatna,
Kawathnao,
Kasalakna,
Kasalaknao,
Kawatna,
Kawathinao,
Wala,
Wala,
Tabayana,
Labayano,
Bonasaiwan,
Manasaiwan,
Abal,
Wal,
Alshana,
Awashino,
Mayan,
Mayan,
Ra,
Rai,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Laka,
Ka,
Amalakwa,
Amalakwa,
Wahala,
Wahal,
Wahala,
Lathapara,
Iwalanya,
Naiwalamim,
Aman,
Aman. In English, what we read, Our Father which art in heaven,
our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name,
hallowed be thy name,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
thy kingdom come,
the kingdom come,
thy will be done in earth,
thy will be done on earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into
but
temptation,
deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever so be it.
forever so be it. We're going to read Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah,
Ashah,
Ayanya,
Ayanya,
Ahahaya,
Ahari,
Mayan,
Mayan,
Yaba'ah,
Yabaa,
Isaiah,
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 Ma'ai,
Ma'ai,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Aisha,
Aisha,
Shamayam,
Shamayam,
Warataza,
Warataza,
Al-Yathan,
Ayathan,
Lamawat,
Limawat,
Galka,
Regalka,
Al-Yanawam,
Al-Yanawam,
Marka,
Shamarka,
Kanala'ah,
Tanala'a,
Yanawam,
Yanawam, Wala'a,
Yayashan,
Yayashan,
Shalmar,
Shawamar,
Yasha'ala,
Yasharala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Shamarka,
Shamarka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Kazalka,
Rizalka,
Al-Yad,
Al-Yad,
Yanka,
Yamyanka,
Yawman,
Yawamam,
Hashemah,
Hashamash,
La'a,
La'a,
Yakaka,
Yakaka,
Wayra,
Wairak,
Yala Yala,
Yala Yala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashamarka,
Yashamarka,
Kalra,
Kalrai,
Yashamar,
Yashamar,
Atmapashka,
Athnapashka,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Yashamar,
Yashamar,
Yazaka,
Gazaatka,
Wabawaka,
Wabawaka,
Maika,
Ma'aitha.
Wa'ad I will love.
Wide I will long. In English, what we read. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills.
I will lift up my
I will
eyes
lift
unto
up
the
my
hills.
From whence cometh my help?
From whence
from
cometh my
whence
help?
cometh help.
My help cometh from the Lord,
My help
My
cometh
help
from the
cometh
Lord,
from the Lord.
which made heaven and earth.
which made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He that keepeth thee will not slumber.
He
That
that
keepeth
keepeth
thee
thee
will
will
not
not slumber.
slumber.
Behold,
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 he that keepeth Israel
he that
he
keepeth
that keepeth
Israel
shall
Israel
neither slumber nor sleep.
shall neither
shall
slumber nor
neither
sleep.
slumber nor
The
sleep.
Lord is thy keeper.
The Lord is thy
The
keeper.
Lord is thy
The
keeper.
Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The Lord is thy shade
The
upon
Lord
thy
is thy
right hand.
shade
The
upon thy
sun
right
shall
hand.
not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
nor the moon by night.
Nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil.
The Lord shall
The
preserve
Lord
thee
shall
from all
preserve
evil.
thee from all
He shall
evil.
preserve thy soul.
He shall
He shall
preserve thy
preserve thy
soul.
soul.
The Lord shall preserve thy going out
The Lord shall
The
preserve
Lord
thy
shall
going
preserve
out
thy
and thy coming in
and thy coming in.
and thy
from
coming
this
in.
time forth
From this time forth
This time
and even
forth,
forevermore.
and even
and
forevermore.
even forever.
Pakah, the perfect power. Yahweh, Ba'asham.
Yahweh Shem,
Yahushai.
Yahushai,
Yahushua, Barakashah,
Barakashah,
Yathanawa.
Nathan Lanawa,
Nathan, Hakak,
Hakak,
Pakah.
Hakak,
Hakak,
Larapa'ah.
Lara Pa'ah,
Lamakalah,
Kalmakalah.
Kal Makalah,
Kalmakalah,
Yakalmadawah.
Wakal Madawa,
Wakalamadalah,
Hakak,
Hakak,
Latahar.
Latahar,
Latawak,
Halmatazariah.
Hamatazrayim,
Hamatariah, Hakak,
Hakak,
Lahapayam.
Lahakbayam,
Lahakayam,
Hamathayam.
Hamathayam,
Hamatayam,
Hakak.
Hakak,
Hakak,
Arakawa.
Arakawa,
Alakawa,
Latamaala.
Atamahala,
Hamatala,
Nagarshan.
Nagarshan,
Ba'asham.
Basham,
Basham,
Yahushai. Tuwaraman.
Yahushai, Tuaraman.
Tuaraman.
In English, what we read, Yahweh in the name of Yahushai.
Yahweh in the name of
Yahweh in the
Yahushai.
name of
Please give us
Yahushua,
the power,
Please
give
give
us
us
the
the
power,
power.
the power to heal all manner of sickness,
The power to
the
heal all
power
manner
to
of sickness.
heal men,
all manner of disease,
And all manner of
and
disease.
all men
the power to cleanse the lepers,
The power to cleanse the
power
leper.
the power to raise the dead,
The power to raise the dead.
raise
the
the
power
dead,
against unclean spirits,
The power against
the power
unclean
to
spirits.
cleanse
to
the
cast them
spirit.
out.
To cast them out.
In the name of Yahushai,
In the name of
In the
Yahushai.
name of
thank you so be it.
Yahushua,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
so be it.
With that said, men of Israel, sir. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers, and then a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat. Imagine. Barak. Yahweh Hashem
Yahweh
Yahshua
Shem
Barakatah.
Yahushai Rakatham.
Imagine a Torah. Men of Israel, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Sarge to the sisters. Sarge means turn. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat. Imagine. Barak.
Yah Shemal Thon Bashem Yahushai.
Yajimatah. The Sabbath service is dismissed. Go on, Akim.
Sign courtesy.